This is Lesson 1-1, Evaluating Expressions. Before we begin, we have to all be using the same vocabulary. The first vocab word is variable, and a variable is a letter that's used to represent one or more numbers. It could be any letter of the alphabet, although frequently we use X and Y. The values of the variable are the numbers that those letters represent, so values are always numbers. An algebraic or variable expression is an expression with at least one variable. It could involve multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, as in the examples below. You can see that we have 5n, 14 divided by y, 6 plus c, and 8 minus x. Please note that in algebra we don't use x for multiplication because it becomes too confusing. We look at x as a variable. So if you want to denote multiplication, please just put the number and the variable right next to each other. To evaluate algebraic expressions, we actually substitute a number for the variable and then calculate the value of the expression. This will become clearer as we look at the examples. So here we're going to evaluate these expressions when n equals 3. So in the first example we have 13n. So we substitute the value of 3 for n and multiply 13 times 3 to get 39. So the value of the expression is 39. In number 2 we have 9 divided by n. Since n is 3, that's 9 divided by 3. So the value or the evaluation of this expression is 3. In number 3, n minus 3, since n is 3, we substitute the number 3 for n, and we get 3 minus 3 equals 0. In 4, it's n plus 8 equals, since n equals 3, it's 3 plus 8, and 3 plus 8 equals 11. So these are pretty simple. You just take the value that they give you and substitute them in for the variable and then calculate the value of the expression. Why don't you try the following? Evaluate these expressions when y equals 2. You can pause this and calculate those out, and then I'll go over them. In the first one, 6y, that would be 6 times y, or 6 times 2. So the first expression is 12. In the second, 8 divided by y, that's 8 divided by 2, or 4. In the third one, y plus 4, since y equals 2, it's 2 plus 4, and that equals 6. In the third one, 11 minus y, it's 11 minus 2. 11 minus 2 is 9. So I hope you didn't have any trouble with those. They're pretty simple and straightforward. You also have to evaluate expressions from a word problem. So we're going to read some information, and then we're going to set up expressions, and then we're going to substitute values. So let's take a look at this word problem. It says the total cost of seeing a movie is represented by the expression A plus R, where A is the cost of admission and R is the cost of refreshments. If you pay $7.50 for admission and $7.25 for refreshments, what is the total cost? Well, the first thing we're going to do is set up an expression for total cost because that's what you're trying to find. And they tell us in this problem that total cost equals the cost of admission plus refreshments, and that is represented by the variables A and R. So total cost equals A plus R. You could have put TC equals A plus R. You could have put X equals A plus R. I usually use some variable that represents the words that I'm looking to find. So I usually would use something like TC, but that is up to you. In step 2, we're going to substitute and calculate. They have given you the values of A and R in the problem, so you're going to substitute those values and evaluate the same way we did on the previous page. The total cost here, since admission is $7.50 and refreshments are $7.25, we substitute those two numbers for A and R. So the total cost is $7.50 plus $7.25. That equals $14.75. One thing I want you to be aware of is that when you're working with dollar amounts in algebra, please don't use the dollar sign in the problem itself. It gets too confusing, and you're going to think it's a variable when we get to very complicated problems that take a page or so to calculate. So make sure you apply the dollar amount to the answer at the end, but don't use it in the middle of the problem. In example 2, we're going to look at a word problem about skateboarding. You're ordering a helmet and a skateboard from an online store. The total weight of the two items can be represented by S plus H, where S is the weight of the skateboard and H is the weight of the helmet. Find the total weight if the helmet weighs 1.3 kilograms and the skateboard weighs 5.4 kilograms. You're going to follow the steps that we outlined in the first example. First, set up your expression. We want to find the cost, right, from the online store, and the cost is the skateboard plus the helmet. Let's start that over again. You're going to write this expression. You want to find the weight, right? So the weight, let's write this in here. The weight is going to be S plus H, right? The weight of the skateboard plus the weight of the helmet. Then we're going to take the values they gave us, and we're going to substitute those values and calculate what it is, right? So we're going to take the 1.3 and the 5.4 kilograms, and we're going to add them together to get 6.7 kilograms. And again, this should be W, right, for weight. There we go. Again, you can see that the units are not written in the text of the problem. When you start doing calculations, I don't want to see the units in the middle of the problem, but you always want to label your final answer with the units. Those are very important. We want to read and write expressions using exponents in this section as well. So we have to again look at a little bit of vocabulary. A power is an expression that represents repeated multiplication of the same factor, the same number. It's written with two parts. You have the base and you have the exponent. And if you look down in the example, the base follows the blue arrow. The base in that case is the 3. And the exponent is the power it's raised to. Follow the green arrow to see the exponent. The exponent is 4. The exponent is the number of times the base is used as a factor, or the number of times the base is multiplied by itself. So in our example, with a base of 3 and an exponent of 4, we would read this as 3 to the 4th, and we would calculate it as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? Excuse my X's there. I don't have a little dot on my keyboard to denote multiplication. Okay? But you will not be using X's. Try reading the following at the bottom. The first one is 7 to the 1st power. The second one could be 5 to the 2nd, or 5 squared. The third is 1/2 to the 3rd power. And the last one is z to the 5th. You can raise numbers or variables to powers and exponents. Now we're going to evaluate expressions using exponents. So we're going to take a look at an expression like x to the 4th, and we're going to evaluate it when x equals 2. So you substitute the 2 for the variable. That's 2 to the 4th. So we multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's 16. N to the 3rd, when n is 1.5, would be 1.5 raised to the 3rd power. That means we multiply it by itself 3 times. So it's 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5. And the answer is 3.375. 4 to the x, when x equals 2, is 4 squared, or 4 to the 2nd, and that equals 16. Exponents are often used in formulas for the area of a square and the volume of a cube. You need to know these formulas. The area of a square is s squared, where s is the length of the side. Because remember, area is always length times width, but in a square, the length and the width are equal. So the area is s squared. The volume of a cube is s cubed, where s is the length of a side. Think of that. The square has all equal sides, and the volume of any kind of figure that's rectangular is always length times width times height. In this case of a cube, those numbers are all equal. So S is the length, S is the width, S is the height. That's why the volume is S cubed. Take a look at the example. The edge of a storage cube is 14 inches long. What is the volume of the cube? So using the formula above, we know the volume equals S cubed. In this case, the S is 14, so the volume is 14 cubed. When you evaluate that, or multiply 14 times 14 times 14, you get 2,744. At the end here, you must add your units. Okay, it says it's 14 inches long. That means your units are going to be inches, and because you're cubing them, it's inches cubed. This is key to add those units.